Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to our Friday highlight, where today I'm featuring the Tier 10 French destroyer, the Cassard. This line focuses more on the torps than the Colbert line, where Colbert has perhaps more firepower with her main battery, but not as much power, so to speak, with her torpedoes and shorter range. Cassard kind of flips that around, if you will. So, I'm going to just read briefly from the WoW's wiki and make some editing comments because they're going to have a bit of a slow start here, and I'll explain and I'll get more into my play-by-play kind of thoughts and why I'm positioning and playing accordingly. But as this video is titled, I've titled the video as like it's a triple threat destroyer. There's a few ways to think of that. One of the things I would say that the destroyer does really well here in World of Warships is vision, pressure, and damage. Or you could talk about vision, firepower, and torpedo. But there's a lot of pressure that you can apply as a destroyer, as a Cassard, that other Tier 10 destroyers don't apply as well. You know, like Jaeger, I would say, is one of those destroyers that doesn't. It's not a lot of pressure that destroyer applies in its presence. Yes, it has a lot of torpedoes, but they hit for very little. Firepower sucks on that as well, right? Where like a Harugamo, I'm going to be more concerned about between torpedoes and main battery, and that it can also do spotting the vision really well too. So with Cassard being a triple threat destroyer in terms of vision, pressure, and damage, like we're going to have a really good game in terms of our spotting with our vision. We're going to be applying pressure to get some ships moved off of this flank, and just in general damage. Not a massive damage game, but it's enough to like make an impact because of how this ship functions. So that being said, the pros that's listed, and I'm going to give my own thoughts with these pros and cons listed in WoW's wiki. Pros is it has a fast firing main battery. It's pretty good. It's right now in terms of all Tier 10 destroyers, the high explosive damage per minute and the armor piercing damage per minute ranks 15th place as best among all Tier 10 destroyers. High fire chance, high torpedo alpha strike. We'll get into that. Fast torpedoes with long range, and you can build that out, which I've done with my build on the ship. Pretty decent concealment that we're rocking 6.0, so that's really nice. And access to an emergency engine boost. Now this isn't like the super fast French engine boost speed. I mean, it's 30%, right? But it's the base speed where Cassard is different than Colbert or Marceau, that you're not going so fast, right? So in terms of her base speed, without even having a Sierra Mike flag on, her max speed would be 34 knots. And I think between Sierra Mike and the 30% engine boost going, do you hit over 41 knots? So what I find is typically if you get in engagements, which you're going to see as we're kind of prodding and torping the smoke screen here, you want to be able to utilize engine boost when you get in gun engagements, and you're going to see that here shortly. Cons, large targets. Yeah, I mean, there are destroyers that are more larger than Cassard. Floaty shells, bad main battery firing angles. I don't have too much of an issue with the main battery firing angles. Long torpedo reload. Again, we can get this down quite decently with the reload time. I think max, if you go with the commander and 6-slot torpedo reload, it's a minute and a half, 91 seconds. So not bad, and take it on rush into effect here. Torpedoes lose damage past 7 kilometers. So I have to double check that. But basically what Cassard does is that her playstyle kind of invites you to get close with the torpedoes, kind of like that Colbert. Like Colbert is also 7 kilometers. Invites you to get close because you can do a heavy maximum damage. Now that was recently nerfed though as of this update 14.7, where originally these torpedoes did 24,367 maximum damage, and that's been reduced to 22,233. And so after you went past this maximum torpedo damage threshold of this range, which again I think it's 7 kilometers, maybe I'm wrong. I need to see if that information is available in front of me. I feel like it also could be 8. No, with a 7 kilometer distance. The max range of these torpedoes is 13.5, but it would trail off like quite poorly, where your max range torpedo damage at 13.5 was like less than Holland's maximum damage. but they've changed that where they've nerfed your short range damage, but they've buffed the long range damage, where the torpedo damage at their maximum range increased from 40% to 55%. So it leads to higher damage when hitting targets at longer ranges, which I'm fine with that. I think it's a good input here overall. Last of the cons listed here is slow base speed. I mean, 34 knots. Yeah, it depends on, like, okay, then how worse off are the other destroyers that are introduced in the game early on. Poor A defenses. I would argue the A defenses are very average. Like, I think it ranks 20 out of 39, 21 out of 39 tier 10 destroyers in terms of A strength, so it's quite average to maybe you could start saying mediocre, and no smoke generator consumable. So that being said, my overall impressions thus far with Cassard have been generally very positive. I like that she has a better concealment than the Kleber. Like, you had this Kleber torque build that would build further into the concealment, but then you don't really need to do that legendary Kleber build when you've got something like the Cassard, just because she plays into the torpedo area much better. Of course, in Kleber, that's the point of this line. So you have this nice 6 kilometer conceal. So you're getting better conceal, longer range torpedoes, but in effect you're giving up speed and not as strong firepower, if you will. But hey, I'm totally cool with that overall when you look at it. I mean, the torpedo DPM of Cassard, I had it pulled up here, is 5th. Now I don't know if they're basing that off the maximum damage, but she's 5th. Like, she pushes out La Pampa and just falls right in behind Shimakaze and Azure Lane Shimakaze. But Kleber is actually on top just because of how fast the torpedoes reload on Kleber, but like a really short range effectively. So kind of getting more into the gameplay at this point, and I'll talk maybe a little bit more about ship specificities. You can see when I had the torpedoes up, you had that line, and that's that max damage within that 7 kilometer, if you will. So our CV actually has been a boss this game. He's going to do really well. He made sure that we got the enemy Kleber finished off and provided this needed spotting on the enemy gearing, which we knocked out. Maybe a little bit of a kill still, but we wanted to get him off the board and gone, because this you're going to see we have 45,000 spotting already. So this is the vision I'm talking about. But as also with the spotting is like when you have teammates taking advantage of your spotting. So and tied with that here, that the destroyers are gone, we are now applying much more pressure. The Bourgogne player is going to feel safe when he had the gearing, when the Kleber around. Now he doesn't feel safe. Now we're applying this pressure to him where he can't just sit still and idly by. Now you can see we have more widespread torpedoes versus only the narrow. I don't always recommend doing the more widespread, but there are times that I find myself doing it more naturally. So the pressure here is we need to get the Bourgogne off the flank, because our team is naturally going to want to wrap around from our cap here at, what is it? I can't tell if it's Bravo Delta. I think it's maybe... I think it's Delta Cap. Let's just say it's D here on the 7-8 line. But basically what's going to happen here is that the Bourgogne, if we allow him to sit up here, he'll start firing broadside salvos into our teammates that are looping from the cap and trying to go more towards the middle of the map. So we need to get him moved off this flank, where he can't provide, like, Bourgogne is among one of my more favorite tier 10 battleships. Like, I know what this ship is very capable of, so we need to get it moved. Now note here that was only 12,000 damage. That's because it could have been, well, I don't know why I had fired those torpedoes. I wasn't paying attention, so whether that was the torpedo belt taking effect there, because usually torpedo belts can be around or 50% or less, around 40% and whatnot. So with that being said, we're going to get this Bourgogne moved off the flank. He's not going to feel safe continuing to sit there, so our team is a bit safer. So I'm trying to apply that pressure, and we'll slowly be building up our damage, our firepower, as time goes on here. So yeah, that's kind of one of the bad things of the more widespread torpedoes, is that you end up missing more at range when the battleship can turn out. With the build I have right now, the speed of these torps, come here, where'd you go, is almost 80 knots. And then the reaction time is actually 7 seconds. So normally reaction time with base speed is 7.8 seconds. So we've lowered that down to 7 seconds. And you have a 417% chance of causing flooding before taking maybe like Liquidator Commander skill, which that would buff it to 542, or taking the Juliet, what is that, combat signal? It's a combat signal that increases your flood chance. Yeah, it's a 15% Juliet Whiskey, and that goes to 479.55%. Now I was hoping to go into the cap. You may have seen me type that in chat, but realized that with the Napoli coming up, I'm not able to do that. So we throw out our torpedoes, which I haven't said this yet. We get 12 of them in effect, 6 on each side, and you can see the torpedo firing angles are really good. I'm actually surprised they didn't put that in the WoW's wiki. But you have really good torpedo firing angles, so it makes it easy to launch them like when you're kiting away. So the Grozovoy is going to live between both of our torps landing on him and trimming him down. So it's really great because this game is still somewhat close. It's just 2 caps versus 2. But getting Napoli off the board works out really well for us here. So now we're going to be able to go towards the cap here. And the Bourgogne is still kiting along the J line. We're up to 87,000 spotting. Most of our spotting damage really has just been on that Bourgogne and maybe a little bit on the destroyers earlier when we took that gun engagement. I didn't get to talk about it at that moment, but you saw us activate the engine boost when we took up the gun engagement, because one of the downsides when you're a Kleber player, because I like playing Kleber, but when you use your engine, your main battery reload booster that Kleber gets that you don't get in Cassard, is that you want to keep all of your 4 turrets, your 8 guns, on whatever you're shooting, right? So I just decided to go straight out away to present as small as target as possible, so that I wouldn't take as much damage while Kleber had that main battery reload booster going, and he's going to be more broadside to me team, and I can get more effective shots in on him than that he can on me and juking and this, that, and the other. Now, we have a St. Vincent off here to the right who's kind of sitting and chilling. He's more of this kited stance. I'm going to fire some more long-range torps again. Looks like about 10 kilometers away. And I'm going to slow down and I'm going to get the cap, which will happen in 30 seconds if it goes uninterrupted. But we're running the heroic commander Philippe Aubigné. He has some talents. One of the talents being the Elemental Fury. Talent activates upon each captured or assisted capture ribbon earned, increasing the fire chance for your main battery shells by +1%, increases of chances of causing flooding by +10%. So you're going to see that take effect here. So it's kind of one of the fun things, like if you run this commander on Colbert, you can be quite wrecking. The other one of the other talents I got in a separate game, which I'm going to transition to that real quick, is the Rampant talent earned by a Devastating Strike that our little Holland is going to showcase here, which gives you a -5% armament reload for the main battery and torpedo tubes, and reduces squadron cooldown time by 5% if you have a carrier. But our little Holland is a little bit of a deer in the headlights moment, slows down, and we have Yoda Lego Death Cry. So there you can see torpedo reload time reduced. So if you manage to get a Devastating Strike, it makes your torpedo damage DPM go up even more so. It's another reason why I like having that commander here on Cassard, as we finally get Bourgogne off the board with 95,000 spotting. And now we're going to be switching focus here to St. Vincent. I'm going to use the island here to close the gap a bit. I'm hoping that I go unspotted, and so I'm kind of going into the right here. Like Marceau Kleber would be a bit better here because they just go so much faster than what I do in Cassard, but again, torpedoes reload much faster than Marceau, I'm pretty sure. So we're within that 7 kilometer damage threshold. I'm going to turn out here to try to give myself as much time as possible before he realizes that we're here. And I'm pretty sure he's already committed to just turning back towards the 2 line, despite me opening up with my main battery here, because he's still going rudder full. So normally I don't recommend firing your main battery guns before torpedoes make contact, but he was just already turning, so I wanted to go ahead and light him up. So we set a fire, we set some floods, or 2 floods of fire, and look, 111,000 damage just from 3 torpedoes landing on St. Vincent, which does have a pretty decent torpedo protection belt. I think it's over 40%, I'm pretty positive. So we brought him down quite closely despite his attempts to keep his hit points intact this whole game. He's been more of a passive battleship player, at least from what I've seen. Now we've focused him a lot. I'm going to throw some torps spreads out. I decided to go ahead and go with a narrow spread. St. Vincent has a really powerful heal, so I'm trying to see maybe if my Bourgogne player knocks him down a peg or 2, and I decide, yeah, I can take this engagement. The bad thing for us, though, is because of not having as much speed and that agility that maybe you get out of a Kleber or a Marceau, is that we have to be mindful here because the British 457 high explosive can absolutely wreck us. So C turret there in the midsection will have the firing angle on this first. But as long as we can be consistent with landing shells, then yeah, we're going to be able to get the kill and knock them off the board. And the CV is going to be running down north on the 2 line here shortly. But 110,000 spotting effectively. And really good job with our Bourgogne player that he was taking advantage of the spotting, and that we were tag teaming. So that's kind of, for me, it's one of my things I like playing a lot about destroyers, is when you're providing that vision to your friendly battleships or friendly cruisers, and they take advantage of it and help you get enemy ships off the board. Like for me, like that's really rewarding as a destroyer player. So with that being said, we had vision, pressure, and damage. When you don't have the destroyers around, like the pressure that you can apply as a destroyer player like really goes up astronomically, which then most of the time helpfully allows you to apply that damage as well. So 160,000 damage, 3 destroyed, 6 torpedo hits with a solo cap as well, with several spotted ribbons, with 484,000 credits, 10,000 experience, 1,500 free XP with a 2nd grade efficiency badge. We're going to land 2nd, 2,117 base XP, and our CV did actually really good. And I don't always do this, but I complimented the CVs, and most of the time I don't compliment them even if they play well. But he played really well. He provided that needed spotting against the 2 destroyers, which is massive in opening up the door for us on that flank versus dragging out the game and stalling us on that flank, and perhaps giving the enemy team that chance to kind of pin us down on the side of the map. So he played instrumental. So you can see the spotting damage. We only took 317,000 potential damage, which that's actually one of the other perks of the commander, which I didn't talk about. It's called the Surge Forward talent, which increases your ship's speed by plus 8% for every 2 million potential damage you receive. So you're more likely to pick that up on something like Kleber, Marceau, Colbert, Henri, Wright, Bourgogne, even before you pick it up on Cassard, because you're a little bit more the stealthy destroyer. But you definitely utilize your guns when you have the opportunity to do so, because you've been given good 127mm guns that have a reload time of 3.5 seconds without taking something like adrenaline ration effect or like main battery AA specialist, which would get you down to 3.32 seconds. But alas, tomorrow I'll do an upgrade commander build video here on the Cassard, and I'll show you what I'm running and some other possibilities. But because this is the torpedo line, like I would just say build into the torpedoes, generally speaking, because you've got the gun builds that you can easily do on Marceau and Kleber. So that being said, if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you subscribe, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, as we're about to hit 2,600 subscribers, which is really awesome. So thanks to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.